Hello, parents of Mrs. Dunnett's second grade class. This is Stacy Fabian. My son is William in the class. Um, I'm recording this video because I reached out to Mrs. Dunnett and gave some feedback on Seesaw. And it, I'll be honest, it frustrated me and it frustrated Will. And I had to spend a ton more time helping him with his homework. And that was extremely frustrating. As we all know, we're all trying to do a million and one things right now. And I bet a lot of you are working from home, hopefully. Luckily, everybody can work from home right now. Um, and so I was extremely frustrated. And so then Will and I decided we were going to tackle this beast. And we jumped in and decided to figure out how Seesaw worked and make it work for us. And so my second reach out to Mrs. Dunnett was actually offering to share some of this stuff with her or you guys, because I think if everybody knew that these little quirks were there and kind of some of these shortcuts, that it actually might make homework and school time in your home a little less frustrating. I know that that's what it did in our home. I don't have to be as involved now with Will, and it's only Thursday of our first full week of Seesaw. And now I don't have to be as involved in what he's doing because he knows how to do the things. So I just want to show you some of these like tips and tricks that we figured out, because I think they might help you guys. So in the interface of the classroom, I wanted to just share again some of the things that we figured out that maybe you already recognize, maybe you didn't, and so hopefully this helps some people. But when you first get in here under activities, the red bubble is how many activities need to be completed. So for William, that was really daunting at the beginning of the week to see 15, but as he completed them, he loved watching the number get smaller and smaller and smaller. And here's the reality of it, guys. It's Thursday, and we're still not done, but we're doing what we can with what we got, which is how we all are living our lives right now. So just is what it is. But there's two different looks here, and I know that the interface doesn't make it very clear that there's two different views, but class activities shows the entire week, which is what we all see at the very beginning of the week when everything is assigned to us. But what's nice is there's kind of this secondary cover, which is waiting for a response, and those are all the things that the child still needs to complete. So as we started to get activities complete, William really liked that he started to see his list get shorter and shorter. So something to consider there. The other portion of this little interface that I think is helpful to know about is inbox. The hard part is you won't see a lot under messages unless Mrs. Dunnett starts to post here, but I suspect that's not going to happen because the Google Classroom area is really great for those announcements. But under notifications, we found this really helpful because Mrs. Dunnett actually has been putting a lot of comments in, and there's been a couple times where things have been handed back to us. For example, he drew in his favorite color and forgot to record himself talking. So she was able to hand that back to us and ask, what is it? And he could talk about it and that whole thing. So just something to consider. This is where your student may really, really enjoy seeing all these comments from Mrs. Dunnett because she's taking the time to put those in there. And I think that our kids would love to see that from her. And again, I really like that she can hand things back for review. It looks like maybe we got one thing wrong. So that's actually a good segue into the other things I wanted to show you, which is kind of inside of the assignments. It's kind of quirky. And so some of the things that we figured out that I want to just share with you, hopefully will, again, help make your school time less troublesome. So inside of an item, once a student goes in there, I don't know if you guys know, but you can draft it. And at least in our home, that was really helpful because Will is a great kid, but he loves to wiggle and can't really stay focused for an hour and a half at a time. So some of these projects are a little bit more involved and require a little bit more work, especially when there's drawing and he wants to spend forever drawing the perfect tail on his Brachiosaurus. So drafting things is really helpful, and those will still show up in your list. But here's a great example of like doing math with text boxes. I don't know about you guys, but that felt extremely weird and frustrating to me at first. But we figured out a few things that helped. So first thing is you have all of your like elements and options over here. And of course there's text boxes, recording yourself talking, taking a picture, or you can upload a picture. So you can email it to your student and you can upload it from there. And then there's a couple different things here, but we find that really all we're using is the text, the photo, and we're just taking a photo because our laptop has a camera on it. If you don't have that, you could take a photo with your phone maybe and email it to your student's email address and upload it from there. Something to consider. And then recording from time to time, there are projects that require him talking. So those are what we're using, but the things down here at the bottom, they were really frustrating us at first, especially anybody else find that time, doing the time and putting the things in. I'll show you that in a second, what we figured out over there. But that one made us extremely frustrated. So a couple of things I noticed. If you decrease your zoom size, which if you're on a Mac is Command and minus, if you're on a PC, it's Control and the minus key, you'll notice that the assignment stays huge, but these little handles down here, these drawing tools get smaller. So that can help kind of remove them out of your way. But also just knowing that if you have the hand, it's selecting. So if I select this and I bring it down here, those little icons go away. They try to get out of your way. So see, I already kind of elected two things. I mucked his stuff up. There we go. So those kind of do try to get out of your way once you're trying to move a text box or an element around. So that's helpful. But here's what we figured out. If you do a text box, if you're like me, you probably put the text box in and then tried to like resize it and move around, and it will disappear on you sometimes. If you get a chance to resize it before you click somewhere else, it will stay. But if you're like me, you might have done a text box, click somewhere else, and then it disappeared. So at least in our home, we've gotten in the habit, and I say we as in Will, because he gets frustrated by that, is he'll do that and he'll type something. And that way that text box exists, so now he can manipulate it. And we found grabbing a corner, you could shrink it up to make the text as small as you wanted, and then grab a side handle and shrink it width size. Because it has a border, you can make it just take up less space. And that was how he found doing these regrouping items helped. In addition, let me make this a little bigger to show you. In addition, these text boxes, which are helpful for doing like numbers and also, of course, writing, they have an individual element menu. So in here, you can, under style, you can change the justification of the text. So it can go center justified, left justified, right justified. And that's obviously helpful in other areas, like when their kids are writing the stories and different things, you can make it. And then the kids can have fun changing the font a little bit. So it makes it a little bit more fun for them if they know this is in here. But really the gold, for us at least, was being able to copy. So let me go over to, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm not going to save my work because he needs to do it. Let me go down here. This guy was hella frustrating, for us at least. I don't know about you guys. So for example, down here, all of these things were in the way, so we couldn't really do much with those text boxes. So we spent forever trying to figure out, okay, if I put this in here and let's say it's 330, well, that's too ginormous. So we shrink it down, and then we figured, oh, we probably want it to be a little bigger text, but we want it to be kind of like that size. So once we figured out the perfect size, here's a really great part for your kiddos, because they know then they're learning what we all use, which is copy and paste. Each element, again, in the element menu, it has a duplicate option. And this can be really helpful in a thing like this, or doing other math facts, those types of things. You can copy the elements to make your life a lot easier. And here, again, if you're dragging this and you try and get down here, those handles, not handles, but those drawing tools try to get out of the way for you so that you can manipulate things. I will admit that it's frustrating sometimes down here. You can't grab the element you're looking for unless you have to wait for the little crossbar to pop up to grab it. So that can be frustrating on some assignments, but it is not a huge deal once the kiddos know how to do it. And then you, of course, can delete these things. You can lock it into place if you want so that it can't be moved around. And you have to click on it and you say unlock, then you can get in there and you can edit it. So once a kiddo likes it in its place, if they accidentally keep clicking it, you could lock it into place and you have to go through a few more steps to make it move. So that's helpful to keep it out of your way. Okay, so though that was an assignment that I found a lot of frustration on, and once we figured out how it worked, it was so much easier. And we kind of did the same thing over here in this. We figured out a shape that worked for the numbers, and then he just kept duplicating it so that he could put it in order. So lots of great places for that to happen. And then, this one was another place. He has them. Here we go. So actually, it's under his drafts. So let me go over there because he's in the middle of working on it. This one, where he was supposed to research the blue whale and then do things about it. So, drawing in here, I'm just going to say, don't think this platform is designed for drawing. It's not like quite like Kid Pics that we all remember. Or maybe it is, and that's why I don't like it. I don't know. But you can highlight and you can do things, which is fun at times, but that's not really actually good for like a kiddo being able to really express their artistic, at least for my little guy who loves to draw, that doesn't really work. So here's what we chose to do. We chose to instead have him draw on a piece of paper. And then again, we are working from a laptop that has a camera. So let me get myself out of the frame. But what we chose to do was have him draw it. And then we went here to photo, and that's, I don't want to show myself, but then we just used our camera and we took a photo of it. So that might make your lives a little easier, or especially your kiddos, because we even had mice and it was hard to draw. And I know a lot of people are using trackpads on their laptops and extra materials they have around. So food for thought on that. Also remember, if you choose a drawing tool, you have to go back to the hand selection option. But once you load these images in here, you can twist them. So on a laptop webcam, it's a lot easier to take a photo if it's horizontal. But if your kid wants to display it, say vertically, you could just turn it. Now it does only turn counterclockwise, so you have to go sometimes different ways. And you cannot, unfortunately, crop a photo once it's in here, which kind of frustrated us at first. We were trying to get in here and do these different things and we couldn't. But just some other ways that might be easier for your kiddos is maybe have them draw on paper and then just take a picture of it and shove it in here. Because you can also do an upload. And then, as you guys may know, the record option, it gives you the option to start the recording. And I have to allow. But what we noticed was the red was here. So it showed your child, and then you can pause it and you can do something else. Here is the downside. If you pause your recording despite the instructions, you cannot switch to the next page. So we found that for each of the pages, he did his own recording and we added the recording just to that page. Then we moved to the next page and did the recording, if that makes sense. Exit that recording. But you would move over. So we record for this page, then we come out to here and we go back to page 2. Then we take our pictures, put our fun facts in here. Then we do the recording. And last but not least, the thing that we have found we use a lot is view instructions. We find that sometimes there's a lot of instructions and we can't remember exactly all the things we need to do. So we will often, when we are in the assignment, need to open up the instructions, but that's so much easier than having to exit, then say save, then go back and look at the instructions and then go back into it. So a few different things in there that hopefully this will make using Seesaw a lot less frustrating. I think once we over here in our household figured out how to use it, again, purely selfish, I had to be a lot less involved once he knew how to manipulate it. So hopefully this saves you guys a little less frustration, or a little more frustration, gives you more alone time with your coffee or whatever. But that's just what I wanted to share.